Okay, so the graham cracker crust is not ready yet, but I'm not going to have the graham cracker crust on this video. I actually put a little too much butter because I didn't have enough graham crackers, but that's okay, because this one will absorb the butter into the cheesecake. But we're going to start out. Now, I did a video on how to make sweetened condensed milk, and basically it's very simple. But what we're going to do is we're going to do half a can of sweetened condensed milk this time. All right, so I will start showing you that recipe. Let me get the sugar. Okay, so do you remember the video I did on making yogurt? Basically, I told you I make plain yogurt because we use it for a lot of things. So this is my plain yogurt, but what I need it for today is this will replace both your cream cheese and your sour cream. But what I need is about 2 cups of it, and I'm going to put it on a strainer. Let me just get a better... I'm going to put, it looks like this is about 2 cups in here anyway. I'm going to put the whole thing in here, and it only has to sit here for probably about 10 minutes, and it will release enough of the whey to use it for the sour cream and the cream cheese. This is like a really simple recipe, okay? And everything is what you got at home. Now, if you have not watched my yogurt video, I would suggest that you go back and watch it. I even teach you how to make a yogurt culture, so you don't have to go buy yogurt at the store to start it. It's very simple. Now, one thing that I don't think I remember mentioning, when you make your first batch of yogurt from the yogurt culture, that's going to be the batch that you actually use for your culture later on. I used jalapeno to make my yogurt culture, but you can use lemons, you can, anything else like that. So I'll be right back. So we will start with half a cup of sugar. Then I've got some boiling water already going on. So I'm going to pour 1/4 of a cup. Yeah, I think it's about 1/4. I can't really tell, but let me a little more just in case. 1/4 of a cup into the pot, and I'm going to stir it until the sugar completely dissolves. I shouldn't have to heat it up, but if you're doing a full can, you definitely want to heat it up and then pour the sugar into it. Or a lot of times people will do several cans of sweetened condensed milk at a time but the only reason we're doing this is to get so it doesn't end up with granulated sugar in it. All right, so now we're going to put a whole cup of the powdered milk, which this is what the food pantry gives you, and we're going to put a whole cup of that in here. Alright, pretty much I think that's the end of it. Alright, so I'm just going to put the rest in. Okay, so I've got my yogurt draining, and like I said, it only takes about 10 minutes. Okay, as far as this goes, seems like it has dissolved pretty good. You know what? Let me just put it on the oven for a little second to get it a little more, because I don't want it boiling or anything, because I don't want it turning into candy, but I definitely want it where it's going to be very smooth. Meanwhile, I want to talk to you about Burt Reynolds, Roy Clark, Mel Tillis, and there were a bunch of other actors, but recently one of my brothers said, "You never told me you're in a movie with Burt Reynolds and them, blah blah blah," and I said, Well, I said there's a reason for that. I said I enjoyed being there, enjoyed the filming. Basically, me and they partnered me up with this other girl who I don't remember her name anymore. It's been a little too long, I guess. But basically, we were supposed to play like husband and wife and kind of do extra background stuff, walking around and everything else. And but the movie, what am I hearing? The movie was called Uphill All the Way. And from the very get-go, I was calling it Downhill All the Way because I could see it was just going to be a disaster, you know? And I think a lot of those guys, they just filmed something to film it. The script was stupid. The whole movie thing was stupid. Burt Reynolds, you know, and I love Burt Reynolds, but he showed up and he was very sick. Half the people there were saying, "Oh, I think he's got AIDS. I think he's got AIDS." And I'm like, guys, no, I don't think it's. Well, it turned out he had like a really bad sinus infection or something, you know. So he only played a couple parts and got out of there, you know. I'm not going to even tell you some of the other things that happened, but I told my brother, and I'll post a picture. There's a picture of me standing by Mel Tillis. He's signing somebody's autograph or something, which I didn't even care about that stuff. And then also the girl that was my partner. I think I got a picture of her with Mel Tillis that I took. But you know, it was still a lot of fun. But okay, let's move on. So I believe I got this down enough. It's not super hot, which is good. I'm going to pour it in here. And then basically all you're going to do is emulsify it in the blender. And then we'll be ready to go on to step 2. Yeah, well, let's start this first and then I'll turn it off because I don't want y'all to have to sit there and listen to all this noise. And so basically you're going to see it's going to thicken up like sweetened condensed milk. You can use this for any recipe basically, but if you go back to my sweetened condensed milk recipe, you know, I show you how to make 1 can. You can double it, triple it, you need to make more. And sweetened condensed milk's used a lot, but it's pretty dang expensive. And you've already got everything probably in your pantry to make it. Alright, so that's good enough there. I want you to look how thick it's already got. Now, when you're doing sweetened condensed milk on the stove with real milk and stuff, you usually cook it till it gets a little browner. Flavor-wise, it may make a little bit of a difference, but there goes your yogurt in there. All right, and look, within just a couple minutes, look how much the whey that came out of it. By the way, your cat will love that stuff. But all right, then I'm going to put 2 eggs. Let me see if I can do this without making a mess. 1 egg. 2 eggs. All right. Then, when you're making sour cream out of your yogurt, you're going to use some Morton salt and you're going to use some lemon juice. So in this recipe, we're going to take a little bit of Morton salt. Doesn't have to be, I'm going to do half a teaspoon. This is a teaspoon, but at least I can see it. All right, half a teaspoon of the Morton salt. I'm going to put probably about a tablespoon or a little less of lemon juice in here. And then I'm going to put some vanilla. The only reason I'm using a tablespoon is I can see it better, but about a teaspoon of vanilla. That's really it, guys. Then we're going to run it into the blender and we're going to pour it in. So let me, well, you know what? You can stay on. Here we go. Okay, pie crust has been in the oven for a little while. Like I said, as I do this, the butter's gonna mix all into it. And hopefully, because it was so soft, hopefully it didn't go everywhere, but we'll see. All right. Might be better just to buy a pie crust when you can't see what you're doing, but here we go. Because it looks like I just made the pie crust rise up in there. Regardless of the fact, it's still going to be one of the best cheesecakes you've ever had, and so simple to make. Now I put it on for 45 minutes. Okay, well, unfortunately, because the crust had a little too much butter, it made it float. But it actually gave me an idea for some desserts, because think about it. You could actually, you know, so you can make your crust out of anything, right? You could use Oreo cookies, you could use vanilla wafers, anything. I just didn't have enough graham crackers today. But if you can float it like this, then you can over butter it on purpose and then infuse it through your whole cheesecake or whatever you're making. So that was just my thought. But anyway, I'll write in the comments how it tastes later because it's got to cool. It just came out.